If I'd had the money, I could have been living in a swinging condo instead of with... I better not say anything till I've had my coffee.
Four fabulous ladies, a Miami kitchen, and a cheesecake that could solve almost any problem. But behind the laughter, the quick comebacks, and those midnight confessions lies a treasure chest of secrets, controversies, and moments that changed television forever. The Golden Girls wasn't just a sitcom about friendship in later life. It was a quiet revolution, wrapped in humor, glamour, and unapologetic honesty. Some of its most unforgettable episodes sparked national debates, faced censorship, or challenged social taboos long before the rest of Hollywood dared. So, grab a slice of cheesecake and settle in, because we're counting down 21 hidden facts that reveal the drama, courage, and quirks behind one of TV's most iconic shows. Death threats over the gay wedding episode. In 1991, the Golden Girls did something remarkable for its time. The season 6 episode, Sisters of the Bride, centered on Blanche's brother Clayton, who announced he was marrying his male partner. It was a bold storyline that brought same-sex commitment into mainstream living rooms years before television began embracing LGBTQ+ narratives. The episode showed Blanche struggling with her own prejudice and eventually choosing love over judgment. It was progressive, funny, and deeply human, but not everyone was laughing. Writer Mark Cherry, who later created Desperate Housewives, revealed that he received hate mail and even death threats after the episode aired. Some letters were laced with homophobia and anti-Semitic slurs, targeting those F-ing Jew producers. Despite the backlash, the show refused to apologize for its message of acceptance. Instead, it stood as a shining example of how comedy could confront intolerance with warmth and wit. Looking back, that single episode proved that the Golden Girls was never afraid to speak truth through laughter, even when the truth made audiences uncomfortable. Blackface controversy and episode removal. In 2020, the Golden Girls became part of a heated modern debate about race and representation. Hulu removed the 1988 episode Mixed Blessings because of a scene where Rose and Blanche are wearing mud masks when they meet an African-American family. Rose blurts out, "This is mud on our faces, we're not really black." At the time, the joke was meant to poke fun at awkward misunderstandings. But decades later, during heightened racial awareness, the scene was seen as insensitive. Some fans argued the episode wasn't racist, that it mocked ignorance rather than promoting it. Others insisted that intention doesn't erase impact, especially when viewed in a new social context. Hulu's decision to pull the episode reflected the changing standards of what audiences consider appropriate. It also reignited conversations about how comedy from past decades should be judged today. For a show that often championed tolerance, this controversy became a complex reflection of progress. What was once harmless humor had transformed into a cultural lesson. The Golden Girls taught America to laugh at itself, but it also reminded everyone that laughter ages, and sometimes it demands a second look. Stan's implied date, Rape of Dorothy. Hidden within the show's humor lies one of its darkest and most unsettling storylines. In a flashback sequence, Dorothy recalls that her ex-husband Stan once drugged her in college, which led to her unexpected pregnancy with their son, Michael. The line was treated lightly, played off as a quirky bit of their turbulent history. But viewed through a modern lens, that admission is chilling. It implies an act of date rape, one that the show never directly acknowledged or confronted. Throughout the series, Stan appears in over 20 episodes, portrayed as a bumbling ex-husband rather than an abuser. This dynamic, though comedic, underscores how 1980s television often normalized problematic behavior in the name of humor. What audiences once laughed at now reads as a disturbing reminder of how far storytelling has come. Dorothy's strength, resilience, and sharp wit made her a fan favorite, but this detail in her backstory adds unexpected depth and discomfort. It reflects a time when sitcoms could gloss over serious trauma without scrutiny. Today, the same revelation would likely spark outrage and conversation. It stands as a haunting example of how laughter can sometimes hide pain, even in the warm glow of the Miami kitchen. B. Arthur's off-camera feud with Betty White. To millions, Dorothy and Rose were the perfect comedic pair, one sharp and sarcastic, the other sweet and naive. Their chemistry seemed effortless, but off-camera, tension simmered. B. Arthur and Betty White may have played best friends on screen, yet, in real life, their relationship was frosty. Crew members revealed that B often avoided Betty, and even used harsh language to describe her. The root of the problem wasn't jealousy, but personality. B was intensely serious about her craft, a perfectionist who valued professionalism and quiet focus between takes. Betty, by contrast, was warm, cheerful, and loved chatting with the live audience. B reportedly found this behavior distracting, even unprofessional. Betty later admitted that she never truly understood B's dislike, but respected her dedication. Ironically, their differences created the spark that made their scenes so magnetic. Dorothy's deadpan sarcasm against Rose's bubbly innocence worked precisely because their energy clashed. Behind the laughter, the Golden Girls was a mix of brilliance and tension, proof that chemistry doesn't always require friendship. Sometimes, friction creates magic. And though they may not have been close in life, B and Betty left behind a partnership that defined television comedy for generations. Estelle Getty's crippling stage fright. Sophia Petrillo may have been bold, fearless, and razor-sharp, but the woman behind her struggled with overwhelming fear. Estelle Getty, beloved for her quick-witted and perfect comedic timing, secretly battled severe stage fright throughout the show's 7-year run. Coming from theater rather than television, she was terrified of performing before a live audience. The multiple cameras, the laughter, and the pressure of perfect delivery often left her frozen mid-scene. To cope, Estelle developed clever tricks. She hid cue cards inside Sophia's purse, beneath plates of cheesecake, and even in the kitchen's prop drawers. Co-stars would subtly help her when she stumbled, turning mistakes into ad-libs that made the show feel authentic. Despite her anxiety, Estelle's portrayal of Sophia became one of television's most memorable performances. Fiery, hilarious, and deeply human. Ironically, the actress who feared forgetting lines became the heartbeat of a show that never forgot to make audiences laugh. Her courage behind the camera mirrors Sophia's courage in front of it. Estelle Getty proved that sometimes the funniest people are those who fight the hardest battles behind the scenes, reminding everyone that confidence isn't the absence of fear, it's performing through it. Gay cook. Coco cut amid AIDS crisis. When The Golden Girls first aired in 1985, the pilot featured a fifth roommate, a gay housekeeper named Coco, played by actor Charles Levin. Coco was witty, warm, and openly gay, which was rare for network television at the time. In the pilot, he cooked for the ladies and offered Blanche dating advice, positioning him as both comic relief and emotional support. But by episode 2, Coco was gone without explanation. Rumors swirled that the network wanted to simplify the cast dynamic, focusing solely on the 4 women. Others believe his removal reflected deeper social discomfort. America was in the midst of the AIDS crisis, and many networks were uneasy about featuring openly gay characters in family programming. Coco's disappearance marked a quiet erasure of representation, even as the show later tackled homophobia with sensitivity. Charles Levin went on to appear in other sitcoms, but Coco remained one of television's forgotten pioneers. His brief role still stands as a reminder of how fear and prejudice shaped entertainment history, even in the most progressive shows of their time. Cast hated the mink breeding episode. In the season 2 premiere, End of the Curse, the girls decide to breed minks for profit, only to abandon the plan when they realize the cruelty involved. The storyline was meant to be funny, but behind the scenes, it caused tension. Betty White, B. Arthur, and Rue McClanahan were all animal lovers and lifelong advocates for animal rights. Betty, a well-known animal welfare activist, was reportedly upset about the episode's concept, calling it hypocritical to laugh about harming animals, even in fiction. B. Arthur shared similar sentiments, having spent years supporting animal rescue organizations. Rue McClanahan was also deeply uncomfortable, as she had worked with PETA and opposed fur in fashion. Though they carried out the episode professionally, the discomfort lingered. It highlighted a rare disconnect between the show's progressive values and the storylines written for laughs. Ironically, the episode ended with the characters realizing their mistake, mirroring the cast's real-life conviction. It was one of the few times that both the message and the making of the show reflected the moral complexities of comedy. B. Arthur despised cheesecake. Few foods are as iconic as the cheesecakes of the Golden Girls. More than 100 appeared throughout the series, each symbolizing friendship, confession, and late-night bonding. Yet, one of the leading ladies secretly hated them. Bea Arthur, who played Dorothy, despised cheesecake. She disliked both the texture and the taste. During filming, Bea often had to pretend to enjoy bites of cheesecake while talking or laughing. In reality, she would discreetly spit the dessert into napkins between takes. Crew members sometimes replaced the filling with lighter substitutes, but Bea still dreaded those scenes. Her distaste became an inside joke among cast and crew, who teased her gently about being a cheesecake-hating golden girl. Despite her personal feelings, Bea delivered those scenes with such authenticity that audiences believed Dorothy loved every bite. It was a testament to her professionalism and her ability to make art from discomfort. The irony was sweet. The most reluctant cheesecake eater helped create one of television's most beloved symbols of comfort and friendship. Estelle Getty was younger than her on-screen daughter. When the Golden Girls first aired, audiences believed Estelle Getty was the elderly matriarch of the group. Her sharp tongue and gray wig made Sophia Petrillo the epitome of sass and wisdom. In reality, Estelle was younger than Bea Arthur, who played her daughter Dorothy. Estelle was 62 when filming began, while Bea was 63. To make the illusion believable, makeup artists spent nearly 3 hours daily transforming Estelle into Sophia. They used prosthetic wrinkles, thick glasses, and a white wig styled to perfection. The transformation was so convincing that even fans who met Estelle in person often assumed she was much older. Her performance was equally remarkable. She didn't just look the part, she embodied it, portraying Sophia with a mix of vulnerability and fire that resonated across generations. That contrast between appearance and reality perfectly captured the magic of acting. Estelle Getty became television's most beloved old lady, proving that age in Hollywood, as in life, is often just an illusion created by art and talent. Betty White and Rue McClanahan swapped roles. It's almost impossible to imagine the Golden Girls without Betty White as the sweet, naive Rose, and Rue McClanahan as the flirtatious Blanche. But that wasn't how things were supposed to be. In the original casting, Betty was offered Blanche, while Rue was cast as Rose. It was director Jay Sandrich who suggested they swap roles to avoid typecasting. At the time, Betty White was famous for playing the flirtatious Sue Ann Nivens on The Mary Tyler Moore Show. Rue McClanahan had played the innocent Vivian on Maude. Sandrich feared audiences would expect the same from them again. The swap turned out to be genius. Betty brought a fresh charm to Rose's innocence, while Rue's sultry confidence gave Blanche unforgettable charisma. Both actresses later said they were grateful for the change, admitting the switch challenged them creatively. That single decision helped shape the show's chemistry and gave television two of its most iconic female characters. Sometimes the best magic happens when actors step out of their comfort zones and into roles they never expected to own. Elaine Stritch blew her Dorothy audition. Before Bea Arthur was chosen as Dorothy's Bornak, Broadway legend Elaine Stritch had a chance to play the part. Known for her bold personality and brassy voice, Stritch seemed like a perfect fit, but her audition quickly went off script. Instead of sticking to Susan Harris's carefully written dialogue, Stritch began improvising, even inserting profanity, including the word into Dorothy's lines. The show's creators were not amused. Susan Harris, known for her precision in writing and structure, disliked actors altering dialogue. She saw it as disrespect for the script and the tone she wanted. Despite Elaine's undeniable talent, that one impulsive choice cost her the role. The producers moved on, and Bea Arthur was later cast, bringing the perfect mix of sharp wit, sarcasm, and vulnerability that defined the character. Elaine later admitted that her own mouth had lost her the job. Ironically, her brashness would have made her a natural Dorothy, but television history was made because of that single misstep. Bea Arthur's Dorothy became iconic, while Elaine's missed opportunity became a cautionary tale about when not to improvise. The Queen Mother was a superfan. Few sitcoms can claim royal approval, but the Golden Girls could. The Queen Mother, Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon, was a devoted fan of the show. She reportedly never missed an episode and even invited the cast to perform a live skit at the 1988 Royal Variety performance in London. The invitation stunned the cast, who had no idea their Miami antics had reached Buckingham Palace. For the event, producers rewrote some of the dialogue to make it suitable for the royal audience. The cast toned down the show's more risque humor, though they kept the trademark wit and charm that made the series special. The Queen Mother was said to have laughed throughout, particularly enjoying Sophia's sharp remarks. It was a surreal moment, 4 fictional retirees from Florida performing before actual royalty. That night cemented the Golden Girls as a global phenomenon, proving that humor transcends culture, age, and class. Even the British Crown could not resist the show's irresistible blend of friendship and sass. Estelle Getty's phobia of death. Behind her confident on-screen persona, Estelle Getty harbored a deep fear of death. The irony was striking. She played Sophia Petrillo, a character who often joked about aging and mortality, yet in real life, the subject terrified her. Estelle reportedly refused to participate in scenes or jokes that referenced death, funerals, or dying. Writers sometimes had to adjust scripts to avoid triggering her anxiety. In interviews, she admitted she could not stand being around funeral imagery or discussions about dying. Her fear also extended to storylines involving illness or tragedy, especially those with realistic emotional undertones. This fear became particularly poignant as she grew older and began struggling with dementia in her later years. Despite that private struggle, Estelle's performance as Sophia never reflected her fears. Her sharp humor, fierce love, and wisdom made Sophia one of the most beloved characters in television history. Estelle turned fear into laughter, hiding her anxiety behind the very humor that defined her legacy. The kitchen had no real oven. The Golden Girls' kitchen, with its green tiles and wooden cabinets, was one of the most recognizable sets in television history. Fans remember it as the heart of the show, where the women gathered to eat cheesecake and share secrets. But few realized the kitchen was a recycled set from another sitcom, It Takes Two, 1982, and it wasn't as functional as it appeared. The oven, for instance, was completely fake. What looked like a working appliance was actually just a hollow cabinet covered in plywood. Nothing in that kitchen could cook a meal. Even the refrigerator was empty, used only as a prop for opening and closing during scenes. Still, the illusion worked. The actresses treated the set like a real kitchen, pouring coffee, slicing cake, and moving with natural familiarity. That attention to realism made viewers feel as if they could walk in, sit down, and share a slice of cheesecake. The warmth of the space wasn't in the appliances, but in the stories told around that kitchen table. Blanche's calendar featured crew and drag. One of the Golden Girls' most hilarious episodes, "'Twas the Nightmare Before Christmas," features Blanche showing off her Men of Blanche's Boudoir calendar. Each month supposedly displayed one of Blanche's romantic conquests, complete with shirtless glamour shots. In reality, the photos were not of actors or models. They were the show's male crew members, dressed in over-the-top costumes and posing dramatically. The production team created the calendar as an inside joke. Some crew members wore wigs, fake mustaches, and even elaborate drag outfits to match Blanche's exaggerated lifestyle. The idea came from the props department, which wanted to make the calendar look both funny and authentic without spending money on outside models. When the episode aired, fans assumed the photos were just props, unaware of the playful prank happening behind the scenes. The calendar became a legendary Easter egg in television trivia. It perfectly captured the spirit of the Golden Girls, funny, outrageous, and filled with affection, both on and off the set. Betty White almost quit because of animal cruelty. Betty White was known not only for her humor, but also for her lifelong dedication to animal welfare. During the filming of The Golden Girls, that commitment almost led her to walk away from the show. The conflict arose during an episode where live animals were brought onto the set for a comedic scene. Betty was furious when she felt the animals were not being treated with proper care during handling and staging. According to crew members, she confronted the production staff directly and demanded that better conditions be ensured before filming continued. She made it clear that she would leave the series rather than tolerate any mistreatment. The producers quickly complied, rearranging the scene and ensuring the animals were handled safely. Betty's stand earned her deep respect from the cast and crew, who admired her courage and conviction. Her love for animals remained central to her identity until her passing. She often said she preferred the company of animals to people, and her actions on The Golden Girls proved that she meant it. B. Arthur's silent protest. B. Arthur was famously strong-willed, both on and off screen. During the show's run, she occasionally clashed with producers about creative decisions and dialogue changes. One of her most memorable moments of defiance came during a disagreement about a script that she found disrespectful to her character, Dorothy. Rather than arguing, B decided to protest quietly. When filming began, she delivered her lines perfectly, but without her usual emotion or timing. The silence between her words was intentional, and the studio audience immediately noticed something was off. After the scene, the producers realized the issue was not her performance, but her protest. They revised the script the next day to reflect her concerns. This subtle act became legendary on set. It demonstrated how deeply Bea respected Dorothy's integrity as a character. She saw Dorothy not as a caricature, but as a real woman, intelligent, dignified, and layered. Bea's silent protest preserved that dignity and reminded everyone that the Golden Girls worked because it treated its characters with respect. The girls didn't like the cheesecake. It is hard to imagine the Golden Girls without their iconic late-night cheesecake conversations. But in reality, none of the actresses enjoyed eating it. Over the years, the cast consumed hundreds of slices during filming. The prop department used real cheesecake, not replicas, and by the third or fourth take, it became exhausting. Rue McClanahan once joked that if she never saw cheesecake again, it would be too soon. Estelle Getty disliked sweets altogether, while Bea Arthur found the dense dessert too heavy to eat repeatedly. Betty White was the only one who tolerated it, though even she grew tired of endless retakes involving forkfuls of cheesecake. Eventually, the crew tried substituting other cakes or pies, but they never looked right on camera. Cheesecake simply became part of the show's DNA, even if the stars dreaded it. The irony remains that the dessert symbolized comfort and unity for viewers, yet it represented endurance and patience for the cast behind the scenes. The theme song was almost different. Thank You for Being a Friend is one of television's most beloved theme songs, instantly recognizable from its first few piano notes. But the show almost had an entirely different opening tune. During early production, NBC executives suggested using Bette Midler's song, Friends, from her 1973 album. The idea was rejected because the rights were too expensive, and the song's tone didn't match the warmth the creators wanted. Instead, they chose Andrew Gould's Thank You for Being a Friend, originally recorded in 1978. Cynthia Fee was hired to sing the new version, and her soulful delivery gave the theme its now famous charm. Ironically, Andrew Gould's original recording had been a modest hit, but the Golden Girls gave it a second life. The song went on to become one of the most recognizable in television history. It perfectly captured the essence of the series: friendship, laughter, and unconditional support through every season of life. The cast's real-life friendship. Off-camera, the chemistry among the four stars was just as powerful as it appeared on screen, though not without complexity. Betty White and Rue McClanahan were particularly close, often sharing jokes and playing pranks on the crew. Estelle Getty was quiet and nurturing, deeply admired by all. Bea Arthur, while warm in her own way, was more private and sometimes distant between takes. Still, the bond among them was genuine. When Estelle Getty began struggling with dementia years after the show ended, all three co-stars visited her and supported her family. Rue McClanahan described their connection as like sisters who sometimes fought but always loved each other. Their friendship endured long after filming ended. When Bea Arthur passed in 2009, Betty and Rue both spoke publicly about how much they cherished her. That shared love and mutual respect made the Golden Girls timeless. It was not just a show about friendship, but a living example of it behind the scenes. The show popularized the word lanai. One of the most unexpected cultural contributions of the Golden Girls was its introduction of a single Hawaiian word into everyday American vocabulary: lanai. Throughout the series, Sophia and the others often referred to their sunny outdoor sitting area as the lanai. For most viewers outside Florida or Hawaii, the term was unfamiliar. By the show's second season, it had become a running feature of the house, and even a comedic setting for many memorable conversations. A lanai is a covered patio or porch, popular in tropical climates. Before the Golden Girls, the word appeared mostly in travel magazines or Hawaiian architecture guides. After the show's success, it entered pop culture and common speech, with fans nationwide using lanai instead of porch or patio. The set itself, designed to feel both homely and breezy, helped reinforce the Miami lifestyle that defined the characters' world. The lanai became symbolic of the girls' friendship, a place for laughter, gossip, and comfort. In a way, the word became part of television history, reminding audiences that sometimes even language can be reshaped by the magic of sitcom storytelling. From groundbreaking storylines to unforgettable off-screen secrets, The Golden Girls was more than a sitcom. It was a cultural milestone that challenged norms, celebrated friendship, and redefined what it meant to age with grace and humor. Behind the laughter and cheesecake were stories of courage, controversy, and compassion that shaped television history. Decades later, the show's impact still resonates, reminding us that wit, honesty, and love never go out of style. Whether it was on the lanai or in that famous kitchen, these four women proved that friendship can outlast fame and that laughter can bridge generations.